Last week, a team of investigators from the WHO exited quarantine. They kicked off a much-awaited and a much discredited, not to mention much delayed probe into the origins of the Wuhan virus. The world has been trying to conduct their own assessment of the probe. But China has tried to spin everything in its favor in an attempt to weave a news story on the origins of the virus. Here's a report.
They were set free last Thursday. Less than a week after stepping out of quarantine, the WHO team probing the origins of the Wuhan virus has made several stops. They have visited the hospitals that treated some of the first patients. The infamous seafood market where the virus was first detected. And the center of disease control in Wuhan. Cameras followed these investigators everywhere they went. While the global press paid attention to their engagements, the Chinese press tried to spin a new narrative. Another brazen attempt to change the story of the pandemic. The Global Times is at the forefront of this effort. It played up how the WHO investigators have been checking cold storage units while visiting the markets in Wuhan. This piece carries a quote of Wu Zunyu, the chief epidemiologist of China's CDC, who claims the early patients from the Wuhan market are linked to areas selling frozen seafood. China has blamed its recent flare-up on imported frozen foods and tried to convince the World Health Organization to accept its theory. But the United States, the European Union, and several other governments have challenged Beijing's claims. So it is using its press to reiterate its false theory. As for the WHO probe, it may not amount to much, given the fact that these investigators are relying on the information they get from the Chinese instead of conducting an investigation of their own. It's like depending on an accused to share proof against itself. The Biden administration has slammed China, accusing it of not being transparent. The new Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, says China's lack of transparency is a profound problem. And Beijing is falling far short of the mark when it comes to allowing experts access to key sites.
Do you think that China needs to be held accountable for not being open about the COVID-19 when it first hit?
There's no doubt that, especially when COVID-19 first hit, but even today, China is falling far short of the mark.
Should they pay some price for that?
The focus we have to have is both getting full understanding of, and accountability for what happened.
China responded by whipping up another conspiracy. A Chinese diplomat gave an absurd reply to Blinken's statement. He claimed that Americans had Wuhan virus antibodies back in December 2019, a suggestion that the pandemic didn't begin in Wuhan, but in America.
According to the US CDC study report, antibodies of the new coronavirus were found in blood donor samples from some Americans in December 2019, which means that the new coronavirus may have emerged in the US by that time. We hope that the US side, like the Chinese side, will adopt a positive, scientific and cooperative attitude on the issue of virus tracing and maintain transparency by inviting WHO experts to the US to conduct virus tracing studies.
The Biden administration has already declared that it won't take the WHO report on face value, and it will work with allies to determine its credibility. So a probe to establish the credibility of another probe. We're not holding our breath for the outcome. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.